Welcome back to Switch to Linux. It is Friday and it's time for the news, and tonight we're going to talk about self-driving destruction. All these self-driving cars are in the news, and I have 4 articles here about self-driving destruction, and we are going to have a quick look at these. Just kind of brief, and then maybe some discussion points on these. Oh boy, so let's go ahead and jump on in. We're going to start over on Wired, and I hope you got your coffee and you're getting all Wired too, because Wired is great. But anyway, I'm actually drinking tea today. But regardless, what we have here is Waymo. Waymo finally had its accident. I think every other car had its accident. So Waymo had its accident down in Arizona, and they say it raises tough questions. I gotta say here, looking at all this one here, this one is... Waymo's not at fault on this one. Like the Uber car, we're gonna get into some of the investigation that it showed up on the the Uber situation last month or 2 months ago, whenever it was. We're gonna get into that, but we're gonna kind of ease into it with this Waymo crash. So basically it asks this question, if the objective is to have these self-driving cars, can we account for all these things? Or maybe if every car was self-driving, would this situation have happened? So of course, here they're talking about, talking about the Uber self-driving car killing the lady. We'll talk more about that. This one here, there are only minor injuries, believe it or not. But here is the video for this. And have a look at this video. It's like a 6-second clip. So the car over here runs the stop sign. The other car swerves and flies over the median and hits the Waymo car. No reaction time possible. I'm not sure you could do a scenario. Let's go ahead and play that one more time. So you see a car running the stop sign. It almost looks like they may have hit a little bit, or the other one either collided a little bit or it just kind of swerved. Regardless, it went over the median and hit the Waymo car. There was a driver in the seat of the Waymo car who responded, wasn't looking at a phone, so that's a good thing. They had minor injuries. Good thing everything was just minor. But of course, this is raising the question, there's more of these cars are certainly crashing. And the reality is this one here was one of those accidents, it was just going to happen. Now, maybe if every car in this scenario was self-driving, the first car wouldn't have run the red light. Maybe the second car wouldn't have overcorrected and swerved out of the way. But who knows? It's kind of hard to see what was going on. But regardless, we just want to show that indeed there was a Waymo car there that finally did have a collision. It wasn't a bad one. But that was kind of the case. Now, of course, Tesla has this horrible titled thing called autopilot. Of course, on a plane, the autopilot flies the plane. Okay? People can't get it through their head that autopilot on a Tesla doesn't drive the car. So people keep on putting on this autopilot, doing silly things like the guy we reported on last week in UK, morons on patrol. Actually, I think I meant to show the article and I didn't. I think we just ran out of time. It was late. So guy gets in his Tesla. He sits on autopilot and he just went over and reclined himself in the passenger seat of the car. Fortunately, they took his license away for 18 months, and Tesla's coming out, it's not supposed to do this. But when you have a thing called autopilot, and everybody's been so conditioned to autopilot on an airplane that the thing will auto-drive, the airplane will auto-drive on autopilot, okay? It won't take off and land, but it'll pretty much maintain things pretty well in the air. And you kind of get that going. So of course Tesla cars keep crashing because morons keep on turning on autopilot, thinking the thing's going to drive. They sit back to relax. The car's like, dude, put your hands on the steering wheel, and people are like, I don't got to. And overconfidence types things. And it turns out though that Tesla cars have a really hard time interpreting the black and white lines in between barriers, and it seems to see them as targets, and they just run right into them. So there was this case with a Tesla car last month, or was it March, there was a fatal crash in March where the Tesla, there was like nothing left of the thing. Like, they had a hard time piecing it out of the black box. It was a bad crash. And so what happened is had this. There was a prior wreck on that barrier, and it hadn't yet been repaired. And since it hadn't yet been repaired, all of the bumper inertia was taken out of it already, and so Tesla hits this thing. It's basically like hitting a very small brick wall at 75 miles an hour. And of course it turned into a flaming inferno, and people died, unfortunately, and Tesla's getting in there, and it turns out that the National Transportation Safety Board kicked Tesla off the advisory. They're like, you are no longer allowed to investigate, because they kept on wanting to, Tesla kept on wanting to come out and put up tweets and, oh, it wasn't our fault, the guy, da, 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 da. And NTSB has this thing where they say, we cannot release any information until we know what's going on. Now, some people might say, well, that's a little shaky that they never release any information, but you got to understand and say, okay, Tesla, stop getting out there and saying that your system was working perfectly. It's just the guy didn't have his hand on the wheel. Because these Tesla cars really, 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 really like running into those things. There's actually a lot of crashes of Teslas running into those things. So you got to be careful. It's like, they're like, ooh, something shiny. And so, of course, as we start getting these type of autopilot, self-drivey type technology thingies, we start to gain some challenges. And that's kind of what's happened. So, of course, NTSB kicked Tesla off of the advisory, so they're no longer allowed to investigate their crashes. And Elon Musk's like, well, we're going to pull out before you kick us off, because Elon Musk's just a moron anyway. So of course that's what he wanted to do, is just, they pulled out right before they got kicked out. So, that's kind of what happened here. It's kind of funny. So, okay, we can have some interesting discussions about that, but here's really where the discussion point gets interesting. So Uber finds out that the car, and people had the initial dash cam was released, like, oh, there was no response time. And then other people no, I drive through this road a lot. And tons of people released their own dash cam saying, no, this is actually a very well lit area. Well, it turns out that the car did see this woman it ran over and killed. It just didn't care. What was that? I don't know. I don't care. The car would have just kept going. So here's what it turns out. It turns out that these cars, if you make them too sensitive to objects in the road, it will start and stop and goes fast and slow, and it'll kind of give a poor user experience. They're saying collecting data so you have a better user experience. Okay, a poor user experience because it would go a little bit too slow. It'd be constantly slowing while it figures out what's there and all this. And so Uber, in order to meet an internal goal for having self-driving, they tuned the thing way down, and it would basically ignore a whole lot more things. Like, driving down the road, a deer's coming, a cow, a fire truck. They just didn't care. The thing saw the lady, it just didn't care. And that's what the final investigation said. So, the thing was set to ignore objects in the road. And so, yeah, I gotta have some subscription, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I guess there's more of that article. We're not gonna read all of that. But anyway, that's kind of what happened is they tuned it to ignore more objects in the road to give people a better driving experience. It's kind of like going to an amusement park and flying off the rails on the roller coaster. It's a great user experience. I love getting in cars and crashing. So with this in mind, this is the type of thing Uber does. Just don't worry about the fact that they have self-driving semis. We're dead as a society. What their next goal and plan is to have flying taxis. This is like Armageddon. I mean, it's not meteors falling from the sky. It's Uber cars. I'm just telling you. Ugh, Uber cars all over the place. And so Uber's flying taxis will be built by these aerospace companies. And they have all these flying taxis by the company who cuts every corner. Guys, can we shut down Uber already? Can we shut them down? They have no regard for laws of this country, no regard of laws for everybody. They have things in place to prevent themselves from getting caught. They're tuning down their stuff so that they will hit random things like, people in the road. Now they want to have flying cars, flying taxis. Shut them down. Just shut them down. Just close them all out, liquidate them, divide all the assets among the investors, and say, better luck next time, Silicon Valley. Because this is scary crap. I don't really want there to be a flying taxi conference in Los Angeles, and I certainly don't want Uber to be at the helm of this. They have disregard for having software that safely works. Like, dude, let's just tune this stuff so it gets there really fast. That's great user experience. What happens if two of them collide mid-flight? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. That's not us in the car. Oh, boy. Looks as though I lost my camera feed, so we're going to go ahead and get that camera feed back. But that's all right. I was kind of on the outs on that one anyway. But yeah, that's kind of scary. What do you guys think? Let me know. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Switched to Linux. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out the links at the top. There is another video over here. You can check out our Patreon page down here. And you can check out shop.switchtolinux.com for information on a t-shirt like this or some other designs. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.